Record. Let us begin the day by giving charity. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Let us begin the day by giving charity. You should have a charity box in every room. Charity is an essential part of Judaism, an essential part of your house. To give to others. That's why we're here, is to give. Good. Now, charity prevents all bad things, brings all good things, and let's now give a word of thanks to God. Hodu Lashem, Kito, Kilo, and Chazdo. Thank you very much, God. Your kindness is eternal, and your kindness is physical in this world. All right, here we have a speech given by Lubavitcher Rebbe. In which year was this speech given? I'll tell you right now. This speech was given by Lubavitcher Rebbe in 1958. 59. 59. Or no, maybe I guess it was the end of 58, 1958. Good, okay. So it talks about, yes, 1958. So it talks about the first sentence in this week's Torah portion. Very strange sentence. What does it say in the first sentence in this week's Torah? It says, these are the generations of Yitzchak, the son of Abraham. Abraham gave birth to Yitzchak, which seems to be pretty redundant. I mean, obviously, if Yitzchak was the son of Abraham, Abraham gave birth to him. So why does it say the offspring of these are the generations of Yitzchak, the son of Abraham. Abraham gave birth to Yitzchak. 2 times Yitzchak, one at the beginning, one at the end, and 2 times Abraham in the middle. Right? Yitzchak, the son of Abraham. Abraham gave birth to Yitzchak. Why is it? Now we have to remember that the Torah was written by God. That's a pretty hefty claim to make, but it's true. God himself personally wrote the Torah. And he wrote, not only did he write it in general, he just told Moses what to write, and Moses wrote whatever he wanted. But rather, every single word, by the way, all the other prophets in Judaism, it is pretty much that way. God spoke, and the prophets said approximately what Hashem said. Ko amar Hashem, like this, God said. And when God told the Torah to Moses, as every single word, every letter was exact. Zeh. Moses said, this is what God said. Zeh davar. This is the word that God said. So not only did God say everything after the giving of the Torah, but also when God gave the Torah, he gave this also. This is also part of the Torah. Let's put it that way. Even though most of this was actually given before. It says that at Mara, that God gave also called the Sefer HaYashar. The Sefer HaYashar is the book of Bereshit. But nevertheless, the 5 books are called the 5 books of Moses. Moshe received all 5 books of the Torah. Okay. So let us delve into what could the meaning of this be, and what is the implications for us? Because the whole purpose of the Torah is to teach us something about how to live our lives and how to fill our responsibility to God. What is our responsibility to God? What does God want? That we should perfect the world. We can perfect the world. So to speak, God can't do it on his own. He can't perfect the world on his own. Why? Because perfecting the world means that we make the right decisions. And we choose to serve God. The angels don't choose to serve God. The only ones that have free choice are us human beings. And so changing the world depends on us making the right choices here in this world. So we have to perfect the physical world. And of course, God helps us, so to speak. Really, God does the whole business. But God, he creates us and he creates our free will. But this thing of free will that we have is an amazing, incomprehensible, godly gift. that's one of the meanings when it says that man is created in the image of God, just as God has free will, obviously. So Jewish people also have free will. And we can choose to do bad or good if we want. And for that end, so God creates bad in the world that we'll have. Okay. So this is the story of Abraham and Yitzchak. And their thing is to make the right choices in life. And God puts them in very difficult situations. That's the whole book of Genesis, the difficult situations that Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob were in order to perfect this physical world. Okay, ready? Let's go. Then pasuk on the sentence of Ve'ela toldos Yitzchak ben Avram. Avram holy that Yitzchak, on the sentence that says that these are the generations of. Let me just see them. Yeah, these are the generations of Yitzchak, the son of Abraham. Abraham gave birth to Yitzchak. Frekta Mefarshim, the explainers of the Torah, ask, Farvos, why that why is it repeated, tupled, doubled, the same sentence? Yitzchak, the son of Abraham, and Abraham gave birth to Yitzchak. Obviously, Yitzchak was the son of Abraham, as Abraham gave birth to him. The pshat is, the answer is, as dus is a natinat tam. This is a reason. The Torah is giving us a reason, una ba grindung, and a foundation, durch was is meglich. It's possible. It's an explanation through which is it possible. Told us Yitzchak ben Avram. How is it possible that there can be a birth of Yitzchak, the son of Abraham? Told us simply that he was an offspring, and also told us means the good deeds that they do, Torah and mitzvahs. How can it be that Yitzchak did toldot? Yitzchak did good deeds. In other words, Yitzchak always made the right choices in this world. How is that possible? Durach them, because of Avram only did Yitzchak, because Abraham gave birth to him. He had a father like Abraham. One answer. So how is it possible there could be a person called Yitzchak and he would always make the right choices, he would always do the right things, he would always fight the proper battles and be victorious? How could it be possible, thing like that? That's Yitzchak, is Yitzchak the son of Abraham. How could this person called Yitzchak the son of Abraham always be right? How could he have told those offspring? There's good results in the world because Abraham gave birth to him. His had a father like Abraham. Okay, we also have a father Abraham. Okay, let's go. As Zain and Faran, when God told Abraham to circumcise himself, and he changed his name, so he changed his name. That his new name, his old name was Avram, and he changed it to Avraham. And God said, what this means is you are going to be the father of all mankind. Avram Goyim. So everybody has a little bit of this Abraham in it, but inside of him, but especially the Jews. As Zain and Faran, there are etlecha inyanim. There are several topics, several the areas of Velcha Haben Zich Eingaben, which began first of all with Yitzchak. Zwischen one of them is Veren gebracht, one of them which Yitzchak began. Right, there had to be three fathers of Judaism: Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Each one contributed something new. Each one contributed something new. I think most religions or movements or whatever in the world, they have one big beginner, right? They have one, one author. That's the one. How do you say? Originator that originated the whole thing. In Judaism, we have three: Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and it goes a little bit more than that. We also have Moses. I mean, without Moses, there wouldn't be any Torah. And we have David. King David, he was the progenitor of Moshiach. So we have King David. Okay, but let's start off. The only three are called fathers. Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob are called fathers. Okay, there are several things which Abraham, he brought into the world, but then there's some that Yitzchak brought into the world. Among them is that das was men hat im gemalt zu achtag. He was circumcised. He was the first person to ever be circumcised at the age of 8 days old. First Jew to ever be circumcised at the age of 8 days old. Abraham was circumcised when he was 99. Yishmael was circumcised when he was 13. Yitzchak, though, was circumcised when he was 8 days old. Which means the shleimus in them inyan from Mila, that he had the what's called the wholesomeness, the completeness with this circumcision. Was was is bar mitzvah given, and also he had a bar mitzvah when he was 13 years old. He was also the first Jew to have a bar mitzvah when he was 13. Two things. He was the first Jew to be circumcised at 8, and he was the first Jew to have a bar mitzvah at 13. What does the word bar mitzvah mean? You know what it means? What does it mean, bar mitzvah? Bar means like the relevant to, like the possessor of. He's a possessor. If a person is a bar seichel, which means he has possession of intelligence. Right? Bar seichel. Bar mitzvah means he is the possessor of commandments. He is relevant to do the commandments. Okay, there really weren't any actual commandments as such until God gave the Torah, which was about 400 years later. But still, he was, it says that Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, they did all of the commandments spiritually as much as they could. The circumcision was done physically. It was the only one physically. Okay. Now, just one small thing. Judaism has this weird commandment that is called the covenant between the Jews and God. The covenant. Today, there's not such covenants anymore. Everybody breaks covenants, right? There's a covenant between, this country and that country. And the next day you hear they break it. This covenant between Jews and God and the Jews is impossible to break. It's a covenant which is impossible to disregard or to forget or something. It's a covenant. What's the covenant? That God always loves the Jews and every Jew always loves God. Sometimes it's concealed, but it's always there. It's always there. And what is it that finalizes this covenant? This covenant? Circumcision. What is the thing of circumcision? Why did God decide this? I don't know. It's up to God. Why did God create the world? It's also, his business. If it was up to me, I don't know if I would have done it, but no one asked me. Exactly the opposite. God creates the world. It even says in the Torah that it's better, in the Talmud, it's better that God shouldn't have created the world, but since he did create it, so we have to make the most of it. I mean, the fact is he did create it, so here we are. We haven't got much choice in the matter. So we're here in order to fix up the world. But a lot of tests, a lot of difficulties. It's very, very easy to make mistakes. But sins are almost always mistakes. And that's why it's possible to get forgiven if you do sins, because you can say, listen, God, you created me with this selfish impulses and ability to make mistakes. You created me with this. So what do you want from me? I can do it. And that God, I promise I'll be better. And then that's it, that you get forgiven. Now that's what Judaism says. Of course, it's not so simple to really, turn away from your own nature, but when it does. So that's the idea of circumcision. Circumcision means turning away from your nature. People are born naturally with a foreskin, and turning away from this is what the message of the Jewish people is. Turning away from it. Only cutting away the bad part. You don't cut away the whole entire sexual organ, because sex is bad. In Judaism, it's not bad. In Judaism, the sexual organ is the basis of all creation, right? All the human beings come from that. But on the other hand, there's the bad part of it, which is your own personal, you do it for your own personal pleasure, your own selfishness. And so that's the bad part of it. So that our message uses to be cut away. That's the covenant between the Jews and God. That's the covenant to change the world. So Avram was circumcised when he was 99 years old. From the bar mitzvah, also bar mitzvah wasn't by Abraham. God started talking. It says as Zayin and Faran, there are different opinions when Abraham recognized God. Then out there, when did he recognize God? People say at 3 years old. Some people say when he was 40 years old. Some people say when he was 48 years old. There's other different opinions also when it was that Abraham really recognized God. Generally speaking, they say that these were stages in his recognition of the oneness of God. That God is creating everything and that God has a purpose. Aber nitzu Nitsu, what happened this? Oh, Nitsu Dreisen, but not the 13. Not the 13. Beider Abraham mentor and Yanim, both things that Yitzchak was the first Jew to be to be circumcised at 8 days and to have a bar mitzvah at 13, are hinted at in the sentence Vayigdala Yeled Vayigomal. It says that Yitzchak grew up and he was weaned. Yigomal means he was weaned from his mother. Vayas Avram Mishtagadol. That's a simple meaning. The Yigomal. And Abraham made a Mishtagadol, a big meal. Vayom Higomel at Yitzchak, on the day that Yitzchak was weaned. Higomal. There's different meanings of Higomal. The simple meaning was that the day that he stopped suckling from his mother's breast. It says that was 3 years old. 3 years old is the oldest you can be to suckle from your mother's breast. After that, it's forbidden. Was the rabbis bring, and they one opinion as this meal was by Abraham's bris, not when he was 3 years old, but when he was circumcised. How is that hinted at? Was this is this is Hag Mal. Hag is 8, 5 and 3, and Mal, he was circumcised at 8 days. Hag is the number 8, and thus says this means Gamal, he was circumcised when he was 8 days old. That's the big feast that Abraham made. We'll see why it's called a big feast. We'll see in a second. It's fate that day. Another opinion is we're talking about what Yitzchak contributed to Judaism. He was the first Jew to be circumcised, and he was the first Jew to have a bar mitzvah at 13 years old. And they're both hinted at in this sentence. Hag is the numerical value of 8, and mal is to be circumcised. Milah, circumcised. A second opinion says, as by Yigamel means that Yigamel mi Yetzer Hora, the Yetzer Tov, that it was instilled in him what was called a good they say positive godly impulses were put into him. A good natural impulse, the godly soul. As is a vek gegnum, and he was removed from his selfish desires, and he was given godly desires. That's what happens when a child is 13 years old. When it says that Abraham made a big meal, state in Midrash, it says in the Midrash that this means Gadol Olamim, that the big people were there, the famous people of the world that was there, the famous ones of the world. Who was there? God, their Eibishter. He was present, like he was present in Mount Sinai. So he was present when Yitzchak was circumcised, or when he made his bar mitzvah. The darshan, like the rabbis explain, oifen pasuk on the sentence B'niyata yom aniyalidchiticha. It's a sentence in Psalms. God said to King David, "You are my son. Today I give birth to you." In Psalms, second Psalm number 2. You are my son. This is speaking to King David, or it was speaking to all the Jewish people. The Jewish people are called the Son of God, the Son of God, or the sons of God. 2 different places in the Torah. You are my son. Today I gave birth to you. As thus is given the day from David's bar mitzvah. Now, King David, he was the Moshiach. According to Judaism, there's 2 messiahs. The first Messiah was King David, and the second coming of King David will be the Moshiach ben David, son of King David. So it says King David, the day that he was bar mitzvahed. So God said, "You are born today. Today I'm with you." This is the day of David's bar mitzvah, and it says that God was with him. I was with him. Zok der Rebbe, God said, "Ani yeliticha, I gave birth to you. Me, I gave birth to you, and not evil gave birth to you." In other words, you're not going to be a natural person. King David, like you were until now. As soon as he became 13, then the godly impulse went into him, and he became a person that was devoted to God. Very interesting. If you look at King David's life, very interesting life. If you want to, from the simple stories that are written about King David, he was the least spiritual person you could find. He was always fighting battles all the time, his whole life. Everybody was opposed to him. Everybody, from right and from left, everybody was opposed to him. And you look at the Psalms, he's always pleading, God, please stop it. Help me, please. But he always made the proper choices. That's called the godly soul. That he was never affected negatively by the world. He always was positive in every situation. That's the Moshiach. God said, God said, me, and not the side of bad selfishness. We started off the class to say that God wants us to make the right choices. In order to make the right choices, so he put inside of us a very strong desire to make the wrong choices that we have to defy. King David, God said to King David, up to you were 13 years old, you were a child. It was easy for you to make the wrong choices. Now you're, after 13 years old, I'm putting inside of you a power, which is called a godly soul. And that's going to give you power to always make the right choices. That's at 13 years old. So God, that's what it means that the big people were with. It was a big meal that Abraham made for Yitzchak. Big means the biggest guest of all was there, God. Like King David, same thing. God said, today I gave birth to you. I am with you. Yes, it's given by you. It's like you won't be ruled by your own selfish impulses like it was up to now. God says to King David, now you're 13, your bar mitzvah is going to be different. Thus, mate, that's what it means when it says, "Was is a roisken numen given from Yetzer Hara," that he was removed from his selfish impulses and he was brought over to his good impulses. That's Yitzchak. We're talking about Yitzchak. So he was the first one to do it, Yitzchak. That's one meaning of a big meal, namely that God was there, the big one. Another meaning of the big meal was as a Suda. This is a meal from the greatest people, most famous people in those times. It was Og Melech Bashan. Who was the one that was there? Og Melech Bashan. Og, the king of Bashan. Here we have a really strange figure in Judaism. Let's change the page. Okay. Og Melech Bashan. Og Melech Bashan. He was the only person that remained from the flood. He was tremendously huge. Finally, in the end, Moses kills him. Moses lived a long time, lived like 500 years, long time he lived. Oh, so it says Og was there. When all the Gedolei Ador, all the great leaders of the generation, Zayin and Dort Gaven, they were all there. Everybody knew about Abraham. Azoy vi Allah, like all of the people from their Welt, from the world, have been gemacht Abrams for a melech, because all the people in the world, they made Abraham for a king over them. It's a midrash. Everybody saw what Abraham was doing and they opposed him. And then temporarily, everybody made him a king. They said, okay, Abraham, like King Solomon. Is B'shas Abraham, the time when Abraham is gemalt, when Abraham gemach the Suda, when he made this meal, whether it was a meal for the circumcision or the meal for the bar mitzvah, hot air angeladen, he invited the malachim, all of the kings, and among them was Og. Og. Now it says Og was tremendously tall. He was like, I don't know, 50 feet tall, whatever it was. So it says, Verin der Tzel, that says in the Midrash that Og said, Was fara vert hot ear. Was fara vert was it? What is this Yitzchak? What is he worth? Everybody's making this big deal. This is Og said. Everyone's making this big deal about the Abraham and Yitzchak. Who are they? Who are they? Mit ein finger, with one finger, can ich zu nicht machen Avram's ben Yachid. With one finger, I could just crush Yitzchak. It's no problem. You're making such a big deal about him. Make a big deal about me. What are you making a big deal about Yitzchak? All the kings are here. I can with one little finger, because Og was very big, I can crush Yitzchak. So we see it was starting. Judaism did not start recently. This is 400 years before. This is about 4,000 years ago. This one. Hatem der Eibishter gesagt, God said, Chayecha, by your life, as Zev as you, the letters are, you will see that du vezen, you will see Tausender und Zendlicher Tausender from seine Kinder. You're going to see thousands and tens of thousands of his offspring. Und dein Sof, and your end, wird sein as du wirst a reinfall, and you will fall in his hand. Like I say, Moses, in the end, he took over the countries of Og, Melech Bashan, and this, and Og was killed with the sword. He said he killed him with the sword. Which that's generally the case with all the enemies of Judaism, is they become really big. It says if you want to be big and famous and this, go against the Jews. God will really shoot you up. You'll be big because God doesn't put the Jews in the hands of unsuccessful people, only successful people. And then it goes up, and then all of a sudden it falls. No more Babylonians in the world. There's no more Romans in the world. There's no more Hamans in the world. But I mean, they're always replaced by other people. Okay, they're beer from the Milos from Yitzchak. So if so, let's explain what this is. Okay, so Yitzchak was circumcised when he was 7. Okay, good. And also he had a bar mitzvah when he was 13. What's so great about this? The Mila from where was his Gamal, the fact that he was circumcised. And what does it mean to us? That he was circumcised when he was 8 days old. Thus is their verbund. This is the connection with God. Versus Hecher from Tam Vadas, which is above understanding. Abraham, he was circumcised when he was 99 years old. He thought about it and he made a decision. When is given mit a größeres asaga. He was a tremendously intelligent, genius person, and he logically made a mature choice. Yes, I want to be attached to God. Like it says in the name of Avram. Before he circumcised himself, he was called a high father, Avram, which it refers to intellect. Abraham had a tremendously deep awareness of what God is. Via state, like it says in books from Kabbalah and Hasidut, the level of Abraham's awareness and consciousness. The Mila from Nemo, the fact that Yitzchak was circumcised when he was 8 days old, this is a different thing. Abraham was circumcised, he made a pact with God when he was 99 years old. He thought about it, he had experience, and etc. Nevertheless, he made a decision. That Yitzchak was circumcised when he was 8 days old. 8 days old, it means as a kind was hat noch nit kein seichel. He doesn't have any intellectual connection with God. Mit an ebeker verbund, an eternal connection. Versus lamayla mitam vadat. He makes an eternal connection which is above understanding. That's the essence of Judaism. Thus is nit kein verbund. This is not a connection to God. Was nemt sich from the asaga. It doesn't come from your understanding or your free choice. No, it's a connection which is eternal. Nor azoivas via kind, like a child, was filled sein father, which he feels his father and mother, und sit sich zu say, which automatically is drawn to his father and mother. There's no logic behind it. The same thing, the circumcision is connecting a Jewish child to God. And there's a lot of Jews that get circumcised when they're older, especially now in Russia. In the time of communism, there was no Jewish education, and parents didn't circumcise their children. And so children grew up and they gave birth to children and also didn't circumcise them. Right? As soon as a child finds out that he's Jewish and he becomes circumcised, it's as though he was circumcised from when he was 9, because the connection is a connection which is beyond time. It's not that he was circumcised when he was 70 years old or 80 years old. It's he's circumcised. That circumcision is an eternal connection. It's above time. It's as though he was circumcised when he was 7, and when he was 8. I'm sorry. That was begun by Yitzchak. The connection between the Jews and God is one which does not have anything to do with intellect. It doesn't have anything to do with a decision. It's automatic. It's there automatically. And similarly, the hatred of Jews doesn't have anything to do with logic, right? It's automatic. People automatically, and they find reasons afterwards. That's one of the things that wakes up the Jews to this essence. Why do people hate me? What am I doing wrong? I'm trying to remember in high school or whatever, in grade school, sometimes they would, kids didn't like, so they would make a little sign, hit me, kick me, and they would stick it on the guy's back, with the person not knowing it, and he got stuck on it. But there was a sign, there was some reason, right? Here, there's absolutely no reason, right? Here, there's absolutely no reason. And that's what really is the reason, the eternal connection between every Jew, whether he knows it or not, with God. And this connection is brought out by the circumcision, which no one wants a circumcision. Who wants to make a circumcision? It's crazy. Who wants to do it? But that's the connection with God. You have to remove some of your own, how do you say, some of your own the urges in your own. And Yitzchak was the first. He was the founder. He brought this into the world, a connection to God, the Jewish connection to God, totally above any understanding, an eternal, natural, automatic connection. For Rana Chakira, there is a conversation, what do they call it? A Chakira, I can't remember the word. Okay, an investigation and an argument. I'll think of the word afterwards. There's in books, if the commandment from circumcision is only one time, like all the other commandments, you put on tefillin, you sit in a sukkah, it's one time. Or maybe the commandment of circumcision is every second that you are circumcised, that's doing the commandment. This says a mitzvah velchatzitzich. Is it a commandment which is constant? From Denver, the Gemara tells a story about King David. The King David, when he was in the bathhouse, and he saw that in the bathhouse he couldn't learn Torah, he couldn't do any commandments. Everybody's naked there, right? So he felt bad. I haven't got any commandments. When Balveir had the zich, meant as soon as he reminded himself, I am doing a commandment. I'm circumcised. As Hatar dich baroik, that calmed him down. Bring from this a proof that the commandment of when a person is circumcised is not that he was circumcised at 8 days old and he did the commandment. No, it's he's being circumcised every single moment, brand new. It's a commandment that's constant. In avoda, what does this mean? Serving God as oich speta, than even afterwards, after a person is already, when a person is circumcised, even later, when a person already has intellect and he has a mind, and manzich by him as bleibt, nevertheless is demanded by him that he should be always retain that farbund, that connection. Is a discussion. In this discussion, is circumcision a constant commandment or just a one-time commandment like all the others? And the conclusion is that it's a constant commandment. It's brand new every instant. What does this tell us? That even when you get older and you can make your own decisions, nevertheless, you must never forget that your essential connection to God is a brit. It's a covenant with God above understanding. Is the Zelber Oifen in the same way that you did it when you were 8 days old? My above understanding. That's one of the reasons why, people, there was the reform movement, conservative movement, all these guys, Spinoza and all these people, they sat and they thought about it and they decided, no, Judaism has to be changed. Judaism can't be so how do you say, above understanding. You have to use your mind a little bit. You have to be mature. You have to this. It says you do have to use your mind. You have to be mature, but you can never forget that the essential connection between a Jew and God is one which has nothing to do with intellect. It's essential, just like a 8-year-old child. Because if the connection is only because of your intellect with God, your decision, according to your understanding, it'll be limited. Then you'll be a fervent Jew and you'll do Judaism as long as things are okay, as long as things are good. But as soon as you have a test, a difficulty in the world, whatever it is, something lures you, money, something like that, then all of a sudden you start making all sorts of concessions, cutting corners, like they say. See, oiben oif, other tifer, whether externally or deeper, you'll start making your own decisions, but it'll be limited. Your Judaism will be limited. Like the famous evil saying, be a Jew in your house and a man in the streets. Yehudi bebeitecha, Adam betzeitecha. As you go out on the street, Judaism is limited to your house, it's limited to the synagogue. Therefore, man mont zich as oich then is showing, even when a Jew is already has intellect and he is an intellectual, mature person, Sol verbund, his connection with God should be with Mesirat Nefesh and Kabbalat all, which is above any understanding. Above any understanding. Where is this? One second. It's supposed to be. 1 second. 1 minute. 1 second. Give me a second over here. Excuse me. Excuse me. There we go. I got the wrong page. Just 1 second. 1 moment here. Yes. Okay, Zion. Okay, let's try it. Here we go. Ready? Yes. B'shas Avram, at the time when Avram made his big meal, in the day when the Hagamal, when there was either circumcised at the bar mitzvah of Yitzchak, as Sulib Dem was Yitzchak, because Yitzchak was connected with God, because he had this bris, this eternal covenant with the circumcision, or when he was bar mitzvah, he said, I today gave birth to you. Like he said to King David at his birthday, is from the bar mitzvah, is chach as Og, that even though that Og, Melech Bashan, the king of Bashan, was gelacht, he laughed, he scoffed over him, as berimt zich as mit sein koach, he said, with my power and my strength, my how do you say, my bigness, he was so big, Og was, as can machen zunicht, I can negate, I can liquidate, wipe out. Yitzchak is nit nor, not only was man is nit nispal gewern from him, not only was Yitzchak and Avram not scared or intimidated by him, man hat noch gemacht af pared, he said even more, he made a big festival, Yom Higomel Yitzchak, noch mehr and even more, was hat sich gleich angehoben, that God said, don't worry, you're going to fall. That he replied back to Og, mit dem Eibishter word, with God's word, welche wird gerechnet wie a Maisa b'poel. He said, when God says something, it's as though that it's already done. So God said to Og, you think that you're 50 times bigger than Yitzchak and Abraham, and you can wipe them all out with 1 second. But you look at Abraham, you think they're afraid of you. They know what you're thinking. They know what you're saying. You think they look exactly the opposite. They made a big parade. They're not trying to hide themselves from you. That's not to hide from you. And even more, because you said that, you're going to be the one that's going to be liquidated. Men hat im angesagt, they said, wird fallen, you're going to fall into the hands of Yitzchak. Und das is Maramas. This is hinted at in the sentence when it says, Via Zoe hat gekent, Zion told us Yitzchak, how can there be? Yitzchak can give birth, Yitzchak can have good effect on the world. Durch Avram holided Yitzchak, because Abraham, he was the one that gave birth to Yitzchak. Was das meant, this means, hat geboren, he gave birth to Yitzchak, und es meant, this means also that he had made Yitzchak, that Yitzchak also can have effect in the world. That Yitzchak also can be brave and can be assertive in the world. So we see a very basic thing. If you're going to really take the world too seriously, then you're not going to do Judaism. You're going to be afraid of the world. And the whole essence of what Judaism is to change the world. We have to change the world for the better. Udas is Maramas. This is hinted at when it says that, that's what he said. That Avram's and Abraham's whole thing was Torah. like the Torah tells us, the Abraham thing was, as is given, as Chach Echad Haya Avram, that Abraham was one. Abraham is given, Ein Einziger. Abraham was one, only one Jew in the whole world. The ganze Welt, the entire world is given for him. Einzeit was on one side, and the whole rest of the world, and he was on the other side. Abraham Ivri was called an Ivri. Ivri means aver. He was on one side, and the whole world was against him. So if anyone asks you when did anti-Semitism start, here it is with Abraham, first Jew. As soon as Abraham was on the scene, people hated him. The whole world was against him. What was Abraham's job? To survive? No. Abraham's job was to have an effect on the world. From deswegen, nevertheless, hat umetom oiskir rufen. Abraham wandered around, and everywhere he went, he said God's name. Vayikra Shem b'Shem Hashem Kilolam. He made everybody hear what they didn't want to hear. That there's a God, and God is creating you, and God loves you. Do what God wants. Nit Elolam, not that God is the God of the world. Was thus, which in other words, then the world would be a separate thing. Welt, a besonderzach, a separate, and God is a separate thing. And God is just stronger than the world. No, says Abraham, it's not so. God is one means the world doesn't have any real existence to it at all. God is creating everything. There is it's not that God is just the ruler of the world. No Avram, but Avram at Oiske Rufen, Abraham went and announced as the Metzius, the whole existence of the world only comes from God's true existence. There's nothing except for God. Everybody hated this message. Everybody was against it. Abraham was not affected by them and not intimidated by the world at all. When the that same thing, Abraham he gave over in an inheritance to his son Yitzchak. This bravery, this courage, this defiance. That's what it means that Abraham made Yitzchak give birth. Abraham put the power of birth into Yitzchak. Was durch them, but by means of this, there could be told us Yitzchak. Yitzchak could give birth, and he could have an effect on the world. Torah, commandments, and good deeds. In other words, Yitzchak would not be intimidated by the world, and Yitzchak even more would change the world. When told us oich peshuto, and it also means the same thing as zeh zainen that even more as your grandchildren, namely us, zainen but nitzavim laolam, will be standing firmly against Og, the king of Bashan. The anvezing, the teaching from this and to every Jew is, when a Jew thinks who he is, and where we are found, in an olam was maisim masav kashim v'ra'im Rashayim Govrim Bo. This is the end of in the seventh chapter of the Tanya. It says we're found in a world which is very difficult to do Judaism, and our opposition is tremendously powerful. I mean, look there's so many religions in the world. Nobody hates them automatically. You people, a Buddhist teacher, a Zoroastrian, I hate the guy, I can't stand him. There's no such thing like that, right? Especially if he's not religious, right? My parents, they were Sikhs or whatever it is. I'm not a Sikh. Okay, good. What do we care? And even if you're a Sikh, we don't care. I don't care. Maybe he wears a turban, so we don't like people with turbans or something. People don't like someone who looks different than them. But if you look like everybody else, and you act like everybody else, and you think like everybody else, so nobody hates you. Not with Jews. No. Jews, no matter what you do, I act like you, I think like you, I changed my name, I did a nose job, I did everything, I'm just like you. But what do you mean? You're a Jew, right? You're a Jew. I hate your guts. What did he do wrong? It started from Abraham. I don't know, it's just part of my nature. Why is it that way? It says it's that way so that we should defy it. We should not put any importance to it whatsoever. And when the Jewish people do what they're supposed to do, then their enemies become less and less. That's the message of the Rebbe. The teaching from this is to every Jew. When a Jew thinks who we are, where we are, that we are found in a world which is tremendously powerful and tremendously large, and we're outnumbered 500 to 1, 1,000,000 to 1. Avelt, which is a maisim zayin, which all the deeds are very difficult. It's very difficult to do good and very easy to do bad, and there's a lot of opposition. Feel all almost by historian. There's a lot of concealments and difficulties and and oppositions to Judaism. When I feel by zichalein, and even in yourself, is the grester tile from the tug. The majority of the day, it goes into normal things in the world. Right? You figure Jews are special, so we should, Jews should just lock themselves in their house or go into the land of Israel and just close the doors and not let anybody else in. That's the way it should be. I think that's pretty much the way it is, like Saudi Arabia and these other countries, right? They don't let anybody in. You can't build a church in these places or any place that it's right. That's what Judaism should be. It should be totally insulated from the world. No, God spread us all over the world. Jews are everywhere there are. We're not isolated at all. I mean, there's some Jews that try to be isolated, but generally speaking, we're not. And even those that try to be isolated, they don't succeed very long. So what are we supposed to do? It says we're here not just to save ourselves. We're here to have an effect on the world, and we have to stand like Abraham and Yitzchak did, but the token for the powerful, and Kegan against anything that opposes holiness. Vidishtarkite, like this, like the power, like for instance, like Og did. As Ankeg, and he stood like a small child, 8 days old child. 8-day-old child, what a child chances he got against Og, the king of Bashan. Where's he got a chance? It says even more, even more. Befrat, and especially the Dristiker, the Droisendikr, the external worlds. So we have problems inside of ourselves, right? People feel intimidated, people feel whatever it is. And there's people that would, even though there's no problems, we still we make problems for ourselves. Right? We make problems for ourselves. God purposely made the Jews the smallest of all nations. From Kedusha, when a person does things in holiness, ver red norch in machtam amishte gadol. He says, then he made, or even more, to advertise Judaism as Ra'u Kol Am Ya'oretz, that all of the nation should see Shem Hashem Nikra Alecha, that the name of God is called on us. Kuman Ezelcha Velcha, there will always come people which will try to can Velchazachen as men can im zeriben und machen from im and ois. There comes things which you might think could destroy you, could be against you, right? For instance, when the Lubavitcher Rebbe came out and said that we should put Chanukah menorahs, make big, huge Chanukah menorahs, invite the mayor of every city in the whole world in America. So the Reform and the Conservative, they went berserk. What are you doing? Are you insane? We finally got a place where we can act like everybody else, and people are liking us, and you're going to draw attention to the Jews are different, and we have Hanukkah, this. And there were court cases and everything, and it ended up that not only did nothing bad come out of it, but now everybody's doing it. Everyone is doing it. That you have to advertise who we are. We're not advertising our religion. We're advertising God's plan for the world. And even though the other nations say that they also have it, but they know that they're lying. They know it's not so. They know that they're just copies of Judaism. They know it. Deep down they know it. And that's another reason for hating us. And that's another reason that we should ignore them. Like a 7-day-old child ignores all the bad that's around. Or like, yes, or like Yitzchak ignored Og Melech Bashan on the Bar Mitzvah day. A person can think from Vanet, Vent Er Nemen, where can I get the power to do this? I'm just a simple person. How can I do Torah and mitzvahs and good deeds in this physical world? Everybody's going to hate me. Und das darf doch sein, you have to say, is das month is demanded from every Jew, not only that you should be a good Jew on Yom Kippur and Ni'ilah, the highest prayer of Yom Kippur, but the whole entire year, every moment. Via Zoy, how can we possibly do this? How can we overcome? I'm just a simple person. I'm not Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Zokmanim the Torah. So the teaching of the Torah is Maise Avos Siman Labanim. That what Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob did, this is a sign and a empowerment from Abraham and Yitzchak to us. That's why they're called our fathers. Abraham gave birth to Yitzchak. Abraham gave the power of birth, the power to affect the world. He put it into Yitzchak and all of his offspring. Stamped from, you have to remember, I come from Abraham. Abraham was my father. Their father, he was the father of all of the Jews. Was Eres Nitnis Poland. He was not at all intimidated or affected at all by the entire world. And he cried out, the whole world is just a creation from God. As the Welt, the entire world is godliness. When Ein Od Milvado, there's nothing except for God. So you can say, okay, maybe you have the whole world on your side, but I have the creator of the world on my side. And all the world will say, what are you talking about? You're nuts. You're crazy, out of your mind. It says, okay, that's right. Could be. Like a 7-day-old child, he doesn't think about it. An 8-day-old child. But that's my connection to God. Is like an 8-day-old child. My connection is one that doesn't reckon with you. It doesn't reckon with anything in the world. I reckon only with the creator of the universe. The creator of the universe says that whether you want to or not, this world is going to be a good place. It's going to be a positive place. It's going to be, the world will be filled with love and with positive, no matter what you want. By means of this, we remember who our father is Abraham. That gives birth. It puts the power of birth into Yitzchak. Lloyd Bader, according to what we said before, meanings. Every single Jew, in all times, in every place, Hadgar nit was to schrecken. You have no reason to be afraid from the world, from Zay was meant as Kocham v'otzam yadam, that they are powerful and they can overcome us. You have to be connected with God. That's above understanding. Und trag them up and bring this down, your connection to God, bring it down also in weekday things, in mundane things, and in weekday, and there's normal mundane actions in your business, in your car, where you drive. You meet people, you have to tell them that, listen, God is creating you, God loves you, right? Don't steal, don't cheat, don't. From Gashmish, you can make the physical world into vessels for godliness. That's what we're supposed to do. That's the Jews. The whole world becomes like a holy temple. That's the idea of Toldos Yitzchak Baruch. That's the offspring of spiritual offspring, the spiritual generations of Yitzchak. Namely, what our good deeds that we do. And by means of this, having this attitude, being connected to God above understanding, like an 8-day-old child, as Verd Nimshach will be drawn down, also told us Yitzchak Kapshuto, the offspring of Yitzchak, simply that Yitzchak's children, the Jewish people, Zayim and Atzech, we will overcome all those who want to make war, come and make war against us, make war, because essentially they're making war against God and God and His Torah. Azoy vida milchama, like just like Og. Und das is the kakdama. This is the preface and the preparation to Ein to go and to conquer the land of Israel. How do we conquer the land of Israel? Not that we're dependent on this president or this person. It's nice to have friends, but that doesn't depend. We're not dependent on our army. Our army is not going to save us. The non-Jews have bigger armies than we do. Well, we should have army. We should have friends. We should have all these good things. Wonderful, but that's not the basis. The basis is to have a connection with God like an 8-day-old child, a total connection that does not have any fear or trepidation or, how do you say, being weakened at all. Our enthusiasm is not weakened at all by the opposition of the world. We concentrate only what does God want, what does the Rebbe tell us to do, and that is what the power of Abraham and Yitzchak will enable us to change the whole entire world. Okay, that was pretty good. Let's now have a Dvar Malchut, 1 second.